we're trying to figure out ultimately what is.
It's still a mystery as to why it took them. Hi, everyone. Happy week of Thanksgiving here in the United States. I'm Lauren Conlon. Welcome to Primetime Crime. I have two very strapping gentlemen with me, as you can see. My lovely co-host, Jarrett Ferrantino, as always. But we also have our friend, Brian Fitzgibbons of USPA. Hey, guys.
What's up?
Hey, guys. Nice to see you again.
You too,
Thanks
Brian
for joining
and Lauren.
us. Yeah. So, Brian, we wanted to have you on. We are going to be discussing a missing persons case out of Gary, Indiana, 13-year-old Ja'Niyah McMichael. But before we get into that case, and that case is tragic and complicated, it seems, we just wanted to touch upon the fact that we have not done an episode on missing mom of four, Nikki McCain, out of the Redding, California area, because there really hasn't been any updates that would move things along in the case. I mean, that's what Jarrett and I are gathering here, but do you feel the same, or has there been anything that you can share?
Yeah, that's correct. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any, certainly haven't seen any official statements come out of Shasta County in the last few weeks, nor have there been any substantial developments that would lead to any substantive update being available on Nikki's case, unfortunately.
That's such a bummer. I do
Especially
follow
with the holidays approaching. Ugh.
Oh, I know. And I follow the Facebook group, and there's just been there's a lot of frustration, and rightfully so, from her sisters and just people in the community. So I hope that changes. There seems to be a lot of heat on the DA's office as well. I don't know if you've noticed the same.
Yeah, I mean, you can. There's Nikki's case certainly galvanized a lot of public support, right?
Yeah.
And that has not waned at all, which provides a glimmer of hope here. The public and the community is certainly not forgetting about this case. It does, updates and new theories and things have certainly ground to a halt, which is concerning. But there is seemingly no lack of public support.
Right.
But I have to say that when you have kind of pressure and then they're going at the DA's office a little bit, some people may think, oh, these people are in the ivory towers of power and don't care. They care. Believe me, they're reading that stuff. Don't think they're not. So their work and the folks that are and doing their best to keep this story in the forefront, that's not in vain. I have to say, there were cases I was working on that, as far as the public knew were going cold, I would read that stuff. I'd follow it. We'd discuss it. And if we were being criticized, I would consider what was being said. They weren't always right, but.
Yeah. And I think if we, we were joined by the no body homicide guy. Again, that was just such a great episode to put out the message to the public to look at it through a lens of the perspective of time, that in these cases, it could take quite a bit of time before we see charges filed in this case. So, we're still pretty close to the event happening where Nikki went missing, all things considered. Yeah. So, there is that perspective as well.
Yeah, that's it's so frustrating. And for people like me, it's frustrating. And I have no connections to the case, no personal connections. So I just can't imagine.
Well, we've had the chance to meet Nikki's family. I mean, I think it's not hard as a human being, but when you get to know, Nikki's sisters have been on, and we've done Nancy Grace on this case, and you become beyond interested. You become invested personally. You want answers for these.
Yeah,
you really do. It sucks.
It really does. It really does. But again, we are not going to cover Nikki anymore. I just wanted to put that out there. That's kind of why we haven't done a full episode. But hopefully we'll have more information and we can put out another episode that we deem to be helpful to her case. But let's get to 13-year-old Ja'Niyah McMichael. I wanted to put her up on the screen. I'll just say, Brian, I'll let you get into the timeline because this timeline is really important. It's a bit controversial, but it says missing since August of 2024, because that is when I believe she was 12 at the time, but that is when she was reported missing out of Gary, Indiana by her mother. She was last seen, we believe, at her apartment that she shared with her mother in Gary, Indiana. But Brian, I want you just to go through a timeline, if you don't mind, and kind of take us through why there might be some doubts as to when she went missing. And also, I want to point out that it took about 2 weeks to get a silver alert on Janiah because they deemed her to be a runaway. Her grandmother has said she wasn't a street kid. She doesn't believe that she ever ran away, but we'll get into that later. But Brian, if you don't mind, just take us through this timeline.
Absolutely, Lauren. So Ja'Niyah McMichael was reported missing on August 11th, 2024 by her mother, Jasmine McMichael. The mother reported that she was last seen at their home, wearing black pajamas, black hooded sweatshirt, and black and red shoes. Okay, so that report has been questioned by other members of Janiah's family. Okay, so a lot of this reporting has come from the Facebook media outlet Missing, Lost in Traffic, which is run by Pebbles Wilson. She's done a lot of digging into this story and done a tremendous amount of reporting on it. She has been in touch with extended family members, aunts, cousins, the grandmother, who say that the last time that they spoke to Janiah or saw her was the second week of June. So these timelines,
wow.
One thing I want to kind of highlight here is Janiah was due back in school the next day, August 12th. So she was reported missing August 11th. She was due back in school on August 12th. Why do I think that's important? When we talk about a missing persons case and the reporting timeline, we start to think about when is this person going to be notably absent? Are they going to miss a shift at work? Were they supposed to pick their child up? Were they supposed to be picked up at an event? Did they play on a sports team? Are they going to miss school in this case, right? Mm-hmm. So that report coming the day before Janiah would have been notably absent from school is suspicious, to say the least. Especially in conjunction with the fact that her extended family members have publicly said to media outlets reported to Missing, Lost in Traffic, Pebbles Wilson, that the last time that they spoke with her was in mid-June. Now, I want to back it up even farther. That same outlet, Missing, Lost in Traffic, was able to track down and interview Janiah's biological father, who lives in the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. He claims that in either February or March of 2024, he was contacted by Child and Family Services to advise him that there was an ongoing investigation that Janiah had been sexually assaulted. Okay, so these timelines, when we start to think about what were the conditions she was living in, this report was given to the biological dad. Her extended family claims that June 10th, 2024 was the last time that they spoke with her. And I should note that according to Missing, Lost, and Trafficked, the the family, the extended family, claims that they were in regular contact with her. Now, this was either by, video call, FaceTime through an application. I believe I didn't have an active phone, but had one that connected to Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So, these phone calls were taking place on a regular basis. That it wasn't like they were in touch every couple months. They were in touch quite frequently. So there was a big departure in the communication pattern between June and August. And they claim that her mother was kind of dodging answering questions on Janiah's whereabouts. So fast forward, we don't know. There's a lot of speculation about what the actual missing date was. Now, she gets reported missing on August 11th. Gary PD initially processed it as a runaway. I believe that's what led to the delay in a silver alert being released, a statewide missing persons alert. That alert was ultimately approved on September 5th, 2024.
Right.
A month. Which may have realistically been June, July, August, almost 4 months after she could have gone missing.
Correct. That is correct. And a month after that silver alert was issued, the FBI and the Gary police executed a search warrant on the home where she was living with her mother. And they released a formal statement to that effect. So from that point on, there's no more bullet points on the timeline. There have been a lot of speculations, a lot of controversy around the investigation that we can certainly get into. But from a straight timeline perspective, you have Janiah reported missing on August 11th. Silver alert was delayed until September 5, and then a search warrant was conducted on October 5.
Okay. And I guess I'm confused about the biological father, the statement about Janiah possibly being sexually assaulted. He said this to the reporter from Missing and Trafficked. He said there was an investigation that he was made aware of, but I'm guessing that he has, does he have 50% custody? Do you know that arrangement? Or
all I know is what he claimed in the interview, that he does not have any custodial rights to Janiah, that he was consistently paying child support, but beyond that, he did not have any access or rights to visit Janiah. Okay.
But the police were making him aware that there was this investigation?
Yes.
Okay.
So we should certainly take that, put an asterisk next to that interview, right? And take it with a grain of salt. However, he did publicly claim this. This is the fact that he said it is a fact, right?
Right.
I don't know the procedures of, Indiana's Child Protective Services, if they have a mandate to advise a biological parent when there's this type of investigation ongoing. It seems like that might have just been a procedural thing that they had to advise him of. Because he's, at least on paper, involved with Janiah's life.
Yeah, and the public wouldn't be able to get access to that report because she's a minor and because it's ongoing, I guess. So there's no way to really prove that. But that seemingly seems to be almost some evidence, I guess. I mean, her grandmother said that she hadn't spoken to Janiah, I believe, since April, which was her birthday, clearly a month after March, if that's when her father was made aware of this. But yeah, I mean, that's troubling. That's very troubling, because if she disappeared in June, I mean, that was just a few months after this assault or alleged assault, which might have something to do with her disappearance. We just don't know.
Correct.
Okay. Jarrett, well, first of all, do you have anything to add before
only that what valuable time has been lost here. Let's assume for a moment Janiah has been, in fact, since June. God, and so here's what I'll say. A warrant was issued on mom's house. That document would have to have been supported by enough facts to get probable cause to get in that house, which means the police are aware of pieces of information. That means something has occurred in that house that led to her disappearance, and it is criminal in nature. So that's not too much of a leap to say we know that much. That's a significant. And in putting this together and in reviewing some of what Brian has put together, there is in federal documents in the past, I don't know if you want to get into it yet, only to say that members of Janiah's family have been, her mom in particular, have been implicated with a connection to the Latin Kings gang, okay, and gang life. That also is not an insignificant point. The federal government just doesn't throw that terminology around. If that's put into a document, it's substantiated by facts that directly connect her to that. Now, I don't know that says anything with regard to Janiah's ultimate disappearance, but this tells you the world she was being raised in and the people that may have been around her. So those are significant points. This is not likely a situation where a runaway walked out of the house and can't be found. This is someone who met with a crime at some point.
Correct. And to your point, Jared, and this is going back almost 10 years. In July of 2015, the U.S. Attorney David Kapp announced charges against Janiah's mother in relation to a murder that had taken place. I believe it was her uncle, Anton Lamont James of Hammond, Indiana, ended up being convicted or pled guilty to murder charges of Martin Hurtado. This murder took place in 2014. Janiah's mother was indicted. I believe that she got past these charges, but she was named in a federal indictment in connection to this murder. Now, what's relevant there, to your point that you made, Jarrett, is we're seeing the atmosphere that Janiah was living around, right? That there is and was a confirmed familial connection to organized crime. So, coupling that with the lack of reporting timeline, potentially a big gap in when she actually went missing, is very concerning.
So what happened with her mother and this charge? I just ran a background check on her, and I didn't see that. I just saw a theft arrest in 2022, and I also saw something, a traffic infraction, a couple of them. So just curious.
Yeah, it looks like nothing came from it. She was named along with a number of other individuals as using a threat of force against a witness in relation to that murder case. So again, it speaks to, and her mother has had some other legal issues, has certainly points to some concern there as well.
Well, and it's worth noting whether or not she was ultimately convicted of those charges, they're swimming with sharks. Like, these are the people in lives. So that's the thing. It's not, Janiah is not in a situation where she vanishes off the face of the earth. And Brian will tell you, Brian, I mean, it's so, the biographical information of someone's life when they go missing becomes so critical, because you're looking at those outlier information and inroad information that people have about an individual's life to help you in understanding who are they associated with, what could possibly explain why they're missing, and is there any suggestion that there's violence or sexual abuse in the background. And this gang association is a red flag.
Yeah, and I'll add that there's been quite a bit of controversy around this case. There were groups that were trying to organize searches in the immediate vicinity of the mother's apartment. There's quite a few abandoned houses, nearby there. And again, these are anecdotal bits of information. So, I want to caveat that none of this is confirmed in an official report.
Mm-hmm.
But the media outlets that have covered this, including Missing, Lost, and Trafficked, have reported that search teams have encountered some intimidation with groups not allowing them access nearby some of those abandoned houses. Now, again, could that be a boogeyman being created, that it was just somebody who owns the house that doesn't want people walking through there? I don't know. But they believe that it was in connection to Janiah's case and Janiah's family. So, that's of concern as well.
Yeah. Well, let me play this. This was something from WGN9 about a month ago after the search warrant was issued. I just want to play. I'm going to put it on 1.25. It's about a 4-minute segment. But you'll notice that it's Janiah's grandmother that is on camera, not her mother. I mean, Jarrett, Brian, you
Also
guys.
red flag.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys are married with kids, and I just don't see a world where you guys would allow your mothers or your wives' mothers to go and do the talking. I know I wouldn't. So anyway, let me just play this really quick, and you might pick up on some other things that I kind of found odd as well. All right, let me get that bigger.
The family of a Gary teen missing since August is calling on anyone with information to come forward as the FBI executes a search warrant on her home.
Courtney Spinelli has tonight's top story.
Earlier today, local and federal authorities executed a search warrant at the home where Ja'Niyah McMichael was reportedly last seen. Her grandmother says her family is worried sick, and they're asking anyone with information on her whereabouts to please come forward.
It's torn us apart inside.
For 55 days, Dahlia Guerrero says she's been searching for her granddaughter around the clock. 13-year-old Ja'Niyah McMichael was reported missing by her mother on August 11th, allegedly last seen at her home in the 1900 block of Malcolm X Drive.
Do I believe she ran away? No, I don't believe Ja'Niyah ran away. She's not a street kid. She doesn't do stuff like this.
In an initial post in August, Gary police called Janiah a missing person/runaway, and city officials now say they are deeply concerned. The department says it asked Indiana State Police to approve a silver alert issued statewide on September 5th, and is also working with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
I pray that, she's found soon. It's been too long.
Gary police say they reached out to the FBI and Department of Child Services right away, and that on Saturday, agents assisted in executing a search warrant at the girl's home. An FBI Indianapolis spokesperson says it was executed by the Gang Response Investigative Team, a task force in Northwest Indiana, though its efforts don't only focus on gangs.
It's just hard, and it's just so hard. I'm sorry. Just not knowing where my granddaughter's at.
Guerrero says she hasn't seen her granddaughter since her birthday on April 28th, a day she cherishes deeply. She says her daughter, Janiah's mother, has an estranged relationship with some family members, her included, but it hasn't impacted their tireless efforts to find her.
Her life matters.
Janiah's family, who spoke with us, say they're in the dark about everything and don't know if investigators have any idea where she could be.
Janiah's a very sweet, loving girl. Janiah's very outspoken. Janiah comes from a loving family.
Right now, Janiah should be in 8th grade with her classmates, but where she is a mystery. Family says they've been helped by many people, strangers included, in the search for the missing teen.
Thank you for the prayers, for the public, for the law enforcement that's doing everything they're doing.
On Saturday, police addressed what they call significant misinformation on social media regarding the case, urging the public to share only vetted information so it doesn't get impeded. As investigators continue their search for Janiah, her family is begging her, if she sees this, to please come home.
If anybody has Janiah, please just let her go.
Gary police are urging people to use caution if they're approached asking for donations, and say people should be cautious if they're also approached by anyone claiming to be with the vigilante group involved in this investigation. Janiah's grandmother tells me they are not asking for money, and they have not set up an official fundraising effort for this. For now, reporting in Gary, Indiana, Courtney Spinelli, WGN News.
Okay. I mean, I have some thoughts, but you guys go ahead if you have some initial thoughts about.
Well, look, my first thought is these things are typically done. These types of press conferences are typically done. First of all, it's not there. We pointed that out. That's obvious. But
Yeah.
they're typically done in tandem with the police, right? So I'm surprised they're standing there all alone,
Yeah.
okay, on the street with very little fanfare, very little interest. That he says there is a disconnect between the police department and the family. Also, it said the warrant was executed by a gang division of the state police.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and they say they do other things other than gangs. It's not the homicide division, okay? It's the gang division, which means their focus is gangs. And something in that house is gang related. Now, they did not connect it directly to Janiah's case, okay? But let's play devil's advocate here. If it's not connected, it's connected to their tie to a criminal organization. If it is connected, then there is some kind of a gang involvement or association in Janiah's disappearance. So I'll tell you what, this case, obviously there's a lot that the investigators are aware of that's not public. Grandma downplayed the fact that the family is estranged and it's not hindering their efforts to find Janiah. It's hindering their efforts to find Janiah if somebody lied that she went missing in June as opposed to August. That's, a problem.
And why even
Absolutely.
Why even bring that up? I guess it seems strange to me where it's like goal is to find Janiah. Why even say, oh, the family is estranged, but it's not affecting anything? Who cares?
Because I'm sure it's a reaction to what's being reported online, and it's very defensive. And there's probably finger pointing online, of course. I think that
always bothers me because I always, I see things like that, and I'm like, don't assume everybody knows the drama because I don't know the drama. Let's just say I want to help find this missing child. I'm not even paying attention to or you know what I mean? But one thing that I thought was another red flag was that, she said, we don't know anything that investigators are doing necessarily. But then she goes on to thank investigators. Thank you, law enforcement, for not finding Janiah and not explaining to us what's going on. That seemed weird. I don't know. Why thank investigators when your granddaughter hasn't been found yet? I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, hey, work your asses harder.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, and hey, unfortunately, in my line of work, I have the unfortunate opportunity to speak with a lot of families that have missing children, right? Mm-hmm. And, a lot of times this is their first time in front of a camera. This is their first time making a public statement. So
good point.
They're also at the mercy of law enforcement. So they're not looking to make any enemies there. And there has been quite a bit of finger pointing online. I said that this case has not been without controversy. You saw it right there in the report that Gary police, along with the mayor's office, released a statement to the public to not provide any donations. There was a group out there that was conducting a search and that was putting out information kind of willy-nilly. Things would pop up online and they'd confirm it and then they'd have to backtrack on it. And, so there's been a lot of false information out there about this case. There was at one point, somebody had posted that Janiah had been found in the Houston, Texas area.
Oh,
that got put out online and then had to be walked back, that wasn't confirmed. So, I think there was a lot going on, a lot of pressure on the family to make some kind of statement. And, the biggest piece that I take away from this is that that division is so large between the grandmother and in the extended family and the mother that she's willing to publicly say, hey, we're estranged, so there has been a big finger pointed at Janiah's mother to provide answers as to what happened and when she actually went missing.
Yeah. I think they're definitely keeping all that under wraps, but I have a feeling that law enforcement is all over her and they are going to get answers from her. I hate to say it, Brian. I have a bad feeling about this. It's been too long and I don't know. I hope she's found safe. I really hope she is, but it's not looking like very positive, I guess.
And when you have a child like this, so one of the things you said that she had a phone that isn't a phone but connects to Wi-Fi. And I have a 12-year-old that lives in my house, so I know how frequently phones are used. That is a treasure trove, as in any case. Look, a negative fact could be that phone never connected to that Wi-Fi since June, or has never been used since June,
Right.
Which is not a good sign at all. I mean, a pretty obvious statement, but the reality is, like, if this little girl's not using her phone and she's not talking to her grandma and she's not a street kid, what grandma said, she's out of communication. She's out of touch and gone in June, in my opinion.
Did she have a social media? I couldn't find one, Brian, a digital footprint of like her. I just couldn't find anything.
No, there's not much on the digital side of this, and nothing's really been released publicly. You know, that might be something that investigators, to Jared's point, are keeping pretty close to the chest. Now, one thing, you know, that does jump off the page, right? We have to assume she had some means of communication. We know that she was in touch with extended family members. She had to be in touch with friends, right? And other schoolmates, classmates, things like that. No one has come forward that I'm aware of that has said that they saw or communicated with Ja'Niyah at any point over the summer break. You know, I feel like with the amount of publicity that this case has gotten in the Gary, Indiana local area, that somebody would have come forward and said, you know, hey, I hung out with her on July 17th. You know, we went and got an ice cream or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, nobody's come forward and said that they have had any contact with her after school ended. So that is quite concerning. The demographic area there there's a lot of poverty in Gary. Like I said, a lot of abandoned houses that makes this search much more difficult. You know, if something bad happened to her, you know, if she was killed, has she been moved? Where has she been moved? And now we've got, you know, we're months and months into this, making things more and more complicated. But that digital evidence is probably something that we're not going to hear from until there's charges filed.
And I think another huge point, Brian, you pointed it out, August 11th reported because school starts on the 12th. That is a third-party entity, a government entity, quite honestly, that mom cannot feed bullshit to, cannot control. She knows the gig is up that day. I mean, it's so critical. Like, I've had cases where when was this person expected? When is it officially known they're missing? And then you work backwards from there. Mom knew that day was coming. So she, you know, in my opinion, mom knew August 12th was coming. That was, school was starting up. She's beginning 8th grade. Where's Janiah? She hasn't reported to school. Mom couldn't call her off, okay, because then she's proving she knows before notifying an official she's missing. So she potentially had all summer. She wasn't necessarily expected anywhere. And she probably fed the family. Like, when grandma doesn't hear from Janiah from April to August, okay, I am sure she's attempting to reach her and is willing to do so. I know they're estranged. Were there any reports that you know of to law enforcement about that would somebody go do a welfare check on this child? We haven't heard from her.
No, none that we know of. So, you know, the grandmother said that the last time she physically saw Janiah was that April birthday party. I believe that you can fast forward and say there was at least communications until June 10th. And then between June 10th and August 11th, there's no report filed. There's no well check, and there's no communications with the extended family past June 10th.
I think it's safe to say that adults in Janiah's life really failed her. All of the adults seemingly failed her. And again, speculation, I'm making an assumption right now, but this is so tragic. It is so freaking sad. I mean, like, just thinking about this, Janiah's mother really does not look good. She does not look good, in my opinion. This is not This is really this is uncomfortable. I really hope that police are all over her and really, really looking into every statement she's made. And I mean, this girl is 13 years old. I mean, it should be very obvious when a 13-year-old goes off the grid. It's not normal.
No, and to that end, Lauren, we have announced a $10,000 reward for information that leads to locating Janiah. Listen, we understand that rewards are not a silver bullet. But believe me, if we solved the case every time we put out a reward, we'd be doing it all the time. That it's no silver bullet for sure. But we do hope that, with that incentive, that somebody with information might come forward. The fact of the matter is, there's more than one person that knows what happened to Janiah. And people talk, people have had to be complicit in a cover-up or in that whatever went down, they were there and they know. So we have put out that reward, and we do hope that somebody comes forward with information.
Yes, like
Brian, I think you could. This one, I think, is likely. Yeah, good point.
It's true.
But I think this for the listeners raised up her "someone knows something" mug. But I think what is likely to happen here, and hopefully happens, is someone in that orbit gets in trouble for something else and has information. Like you said, Gary, Indiana, tough place, poverty-stricken. Famously the hometown of the Jacksons, Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. But also that when you have this kind of gang activity, my experience has been, if you can hold a member's feet to the fire and get them to flip because of their own personal problems, a gun charge, whatever comes down the pike, that's how you're going to get some answers in this thing.
Yeah. And there's certainly cases pending for a lot of people associated with Janiah's mother. Her alleged girlfriend that lived with her has some criminal cases pending as well. So there is hope there that some truth will surface.
I'm just going to put the police phone number to the Gary, Indiana Police Department, 219-881-1249, if you have any information. And also in the episode notes, I'm going to link out the USPA website, which has the reward. And you guys did a phenomenal job of documenting the timeline of her disappearance. And you guys actually even have the links to some of the news stations that have been covering this case, which is very, very helpful. So I'm going to keep that in the episode notes as well, Brian. Is there anything else that the public should be aware of if they have any information or anything that they'd like to do to help?
No, I just think I appreciate you putting that link in the show notes. We do urge folks to contact Gary Police at that 219-881-1214 number that's listed below here. If for whatever reason you want to keep your tip anonymous, if you go to our USPA website, we have a page that details Janiah's case, and there is a link there that you can submit an anonymous tip that's completely anonymous to you. You don't need to leave an email or a cell phone or anything. That tip will be anonymous and received by our missing persons team. So we're hopeful that somebody comes forward. No piece of information is too small. Particularly interested in anybody that had contact with Janiah on or about June 10th, in that time frame that we believe that was when she actually went missing, or anybody who talked to her after, come forward and let us know that. So no piece of information is too small. Contact the Gary PD. They're the ones who have the authority and the ability to fully investigate and solve this. But if for whatever reason you're not comfortable going to them, certainly come to us, and there is a reward on the table.
Brian, one question I had, that designation that she was a thought to be a runaway initially. How, in your experiences, how is that made? Is it made based on the nature in which the way the information is provided, information provided to the family, where that designation is made? Because it seems to me,
that, Jared.
right. So they lost 2 weeks. Right. That's a fairly I'm thinking based on whoever reported this and the manner in which it was reported, the police don't just make, they don't take guesses and gamble here. They base that assessment on something like, she told me she was going to run away. She left a note. She had a boyfriend she was going to see out of town. Like, how did they get there?
My guess is it was based on the information that her mother, Ja'Niyah McMichael, provided in that August 11th report. Okay. We don't typically see, as far as I know, this is the first time Janiah has gone missing. Okay. So, we'll typically see that delay in reporting with chronic runaways, where police have, this is the third time they're putting out a flyer for the same person. And they may not react in like a drop everything fashion when it's the third time a teenager has run away. But as far as I know, this was the first time Janiah ran away, or I should say, first time Janiah was listed as a missing person. So to that end, it was a huge missed opportunity because it was really almost 3 weeks, August 11th up to September 5 when that silver alert was issued.
Wow.
Awful. She's so cute too. She just looks so innocent and just so adorable. God, I hope she's found safe. I really do. Brian, thank you so much for coming on and joining us and for all of the work that you do for these missing children and these missing people. It's truly amazing. And there needs to be more people like you in this world. I think it would be a much better place.
Off for the holidays? Or
no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I am. We already got some of our Christmas decorations up here, as you can see in the background.
Yes.
So, and to that end, I would, Pebbles Wilson at Missing Lost in Traffic has been covering this case extensively. I want to give a shout out to her. She's been all over this case. Hey, we'll keep on keeping on here, and anything that we can do. If people have information, please come forward.
I'm going to link out that Facebook group as well. I just joined it this morning, and it was really, really helpful in finding facts about Janiah's case. So I will link that out also, and of course the USPA website and just other links to help find Janiah. So, all right. Well,
and Lauren, if you could invite those folks to talk with us if they have any concerns or questions too. I mean, this case something is very wrong here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll connect you guys to Pebbles.
Yeah.
Please
very,
do, Brian.
very
I appreciate that.
Very wrong. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hopefully everyone can take a break if you're granted from murder, missing people, and the world of crime, and just enjoy your family. And to those that have gone through some trauma, our hearts are with you as well during the holidays, because I know that it can be tough for a lot of people. So, all right. Thanks, guys. And thank you again, Brian, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Happening, you're trying to figure out ultimately what is
It's still a mystery as to why it's